Starship Vigilant, a Star Trek Adventures campaign.
Perfect. So this is Starship Vigilant. This is episode 55/56. Technically, this is episode 56, but we are incorporating a summary of episode 55 because reasons to do with Discord. So apologies for Discord, but
yeah, at least you got an excuse with yours. I just forgot to download mine.
You see, I'm religious about it. Once I stop, I literally download it straight away, just because I'm afraid I'll forget. I have done that before, and it wasn't. I was upset with myself about that. So, but I did get your Golden Heroes recording for the last session, which I will. I know Ant keeps nagging me to post it, so I will post it this week.
He's put a lot of pressure on with those images of those of the comics.
Yes, he has.
So, have you got stats for the Commodore? It's like, yes, totally stats for him.
So I will get that sorted, and as I say, so this is going to be a bit of a joint episode to start with. So first of all, let's go around the table and just tell everyone who is present tonight. So let's start with Alex.
Hello, I am Alex.
And you are playing TBC.
Yes, because I am very slow and I haven't come up with a name yet. But that will be done by next time we play.
Not a problem. Okay, and who else we got?
We've got Karen, and I will be playing the Chief Security Officer, Kolish.
Excellent.
I am David Oshagen. I am the Science Officer.
Perfect.
I am... Do you? Ladies first.
Yep. Okay, I'm Sarah Jane, and I play the Engineering Chief, Giara Prux.
Splendid.
Yep. I'm Mike, and I'm playing Kaz, who is the ship's helmsman and first officer.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, and I'm Steve, the GM. I never normally say that, so I should probably say that. Okay, so as I mentioned at the top there, we had some technical issues last time. So first thing I'm going to do is give us a quick summary of session 55, which was the Needs of the Few Part 4. So the away team had boarded the Vinshari ship and had located the stolen warp core, beamed it back, and then decided to assist the Arcasay with locating and rescuing the Assessor from the Vinshari installation and freeing the Hakiv. So the Vigilant crew managed to retrieve, basically beam the core away, and the Vigilant managed to get it refitted before two Vinshari ships arrived. The cargo barge had then arrived at the research station. The cargo pod that you were in had detached and then docked with the power station. You'd then been on board the station, managed to avoid Vinshari patrols. Osterhagen and one of the Arcasay had managed to set off the internal alarms to basically confuse the Vinshari. The Assessor was located and freed. He was crying about the fate of Ash Tamalia and the other Tilikal. And the team had set up transport enhancers and basically ready to beam back to the ship. The Assessor had then used the telepaths in the group, I should say, to assist, and had sent everyone back to where they should be, including the Hakiv. The healthy Hakiv had basically warped out of the system. The dying Hakiv had basically entered the gas giant and had essentially turned it into a new sun within the Vinshari system. You'd essentially established cordial relations with the Arcasay, and the Vinshari had issued a shoot on sight order for the Vigilant, and that's where, and then you'd returned, and as you'd left, basically the Vinshari system had gained a new sun. So you can understand why they might have been a little bit annoyed about that, but anyhow, So that was a very brief summary of the last session. And so we are now into session 56, which is called Prism. Today's date is the 12th of April 2023 for my own reference for the future. So Captain's Log, this is being recorded by Miles Naismith. Having escaped the Vinchari and with repairs complete, we are tracking increased tetraionic filament activity and associated EM radiation bursts. Our new friend Thasin has helped us track these phenomena, which all seem to be leading to an unexplored star system with a single planet. Thasin has agreed to assist the science team with scans on board ship, whilst an away team investigates planetside. While it's anyone's guess what awaits us on this world, we know the trapped Tilikal cannot wait for us indefinitely. Captain's Log Supplemental. Commendations have been logged for the away team who rescued the assessor from the Vinchari research station and released the Hakiv being exploited there. There is great excitement among the science community about the data we have collected on these incredible life forms. There is talk of the ship being awarded the Vulcan Scientific Legion of Honor Medal as a result of these findings, and Osterhagen has been bombarded with requests for more information. Initial steps have been made to establish a treaty with the Arcasay, and a joint monitoring program is being developed under the guidance of Captain Jalara to put an end to the exploitation of the Hakiv for good. Okay, so the Vigilant drops out of warp in a distant star system. So this is a star system that is not, in galactic terms, it's relatively close to the Vinchari system. This is probably about the furthest that you've been away from. Narendra Station for some time, and as you drop you drop out of warp. Your initial basic sensor scans show a single star, which is orbited by a small tidally locked planet. One side is always in day, and one side is always in night. So I don't know those of you who've got any interest in astronomy, but a tidally locked planet, basically, it's so close to their star that the gravity essentially holds them in place, much like Earth holds the moon. So one side of a tidally locked planet always faces the star, and another side always faces away. So one half of the planet has a sunny day side, and the other half has a sort of endless starry night, basically. Okay, so dropped out of warp. I think what we'll do is let's get Osterhagen to first of all make a science scan, just to do a basic scan of the system. So this is going to be reason and science. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's some issues with the character sheets here, and I've got a feeling your character sheet probably isn't fully populated.
No, it doesn't have.
That's okay. You haven't got focus.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up your character sheet in the website, and I mean, I'm sure you will have a focus that's applicable, because I think if I remember rightly, you've got so you've got your values are there. And you've got your attributes.
Biological and xenobiology.
Yeah, and as I say, I will fill all of this in, so don't worry about it for today. I will go through and fill all this in over the next couple of weeks. You've got xenobiology, you've got genetics, you've got infectious diseases, virology, philosophy, and hand-to-hand combat. So I think I'm going to allow you to use your focuses because you've got xenobiology. So that I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So let's have a look and see how you got on there. Okay, so you got one success.
But that's without adding the focus, because obviously there's no focus to add. So
does it not let you just add focuses if you tick the focus box?
Add focus.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh, you've got focuses used anyway, so that was ticked. So I think.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
well, I think you're okay. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So, so on the bridge, Osterhagen is you're sort of bent over your science console, and you run a excuse me, you run a a science, a basic scan. Naismith sort of turns in his chair, sort of just to look over at you as he sees you running your scan. And your basic scan reports that you are picking up traces of Tilical technology on the surface. So by now, obviously, you've all, you've come to recognise, what that technology looks like, what that, readings that will indicate that. So you're confident that there is definitely Tilical technology in place on this planet. However, there is also a strong static field emanating from objects in orbit, which will definitely interfere with scans and presumably transporters. Your scans are inconclusive, but the objects in the upper atmosphere are moving slowly. And as you look at the view screen on the bridge, the atmosphere is kind of gently shimmering. It doesn't appear to be it's not like, energy storms, electrical storms or whatever, but you just see there is a kind of an odd, almost glow about the atmosphere. And it is soon apparent that you're going to have to send a shuttle down to the planet's surface to investigate. So I'll go around the room, see if anyone has any. First of all, if there's anything anyone wants to kind of ask or do before we move on.
Do we know what state the ship's power systems are in at the moment? I mean, I know we got the warp core reinstalled. Is everything?
Yeah, you're in tip-top shape because you've been been back to Narendra Station. So you haven't just gone straight here from Vinchara. You did go back to the star base where you've had repairs carried out. So yeah, you're in good shape.
They fixed the plumbing.
No, the plumbing still smells, but that's never going to change. I'm pretty sure. And you've had some crew rotation, so that will be our handy reason to explain why we have a new Lieutenant Junior Grade Helm Officer. Now that Kaz is kind of well established as Executive Officer, then she will be moved up in the command chain to Exec Officer, and so there's a new helmsman has been brought aboard, name to be determined. And so this new helmsman is essentially at the helm currently, and Kaz, we'll have to figure out where you're going to sit, basically, because the problem with the Defiant, the Defiant, is that you don't really have much in the way of options, do you? In terms of like a chair, essentially.
I could sit on Naismith's lap.
Doesn't Plume have a portable chair that you could borrow?
Like a fold-up chair.
Only using it.
I mean, this is the 24th century. I'm sure you could probably.
Oh.
You could probably.
Replicator. Replicator.
Yeah.
Create chair.
There's the bridge. So, yeah, but it'd have to be a fold-up picnic chair.
Yeah.
And we'll sort of sit you about there.
I should be 2 minutes.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll stick you there on a kind of a fold-up chair. That is. I mean, all joking aside, it is a thing, isn't it? But anyway, the point is, we'll figure that out. I'm sure I can probably find another bridge layout that's got another chair for you.
Just take one of these. Say I could have one of these side consoles, but
yeah, you can. Do you know what? I would say you would probably take Tactical 1 because obviously Kalisha's got a tactical station on the port side. So I'm going to say for now that you're probably going to move yourself there.
In all honesty, wouldn't you be up on a console while someone's trying to type?
That's what I said.
That is absolutely perfect. Yeah, you'll be crouched on top of the console. Go get off! Someone's trying to do their work.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and then when they try and get you to move, you're going to roll on your back and put your legs in the air. Yeah.
But that's a trap. Anybody tries it gets their arm blended.
The whole crew has been issued laser pens so that we can just put a little dot to move Kaz when she's in the way.
Oh, that's funny. No, those cat jokes don't get old, do they? Yeah. So you let's say for now you've parked yourself over here, and obviously with the consoles on the bridge, you can obviously these consoles are all reconfigurable. So you probably just reconfigured it to have helm readouts and sensors and whatever you need to be able to kind of advise Naismith.
Why garbage? Because I can't see myself up there.
Yeah, no, I'll sort you out a token. We'll if you can you see the bridge layout or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll find you once we decide on a name and an image for you. Then I'll get you a token loaded. So don't worry about it for now. We'll just
Tobias Boltar Connery, I think TBC.
There you go. That's pretty good. I like that.
Love it.
The reason why we don't know his name is because the memo went round, but nobody reads memos.
Exactly. No one's read that email.
So his name's on the street. Like, I'm not reading that. That's what's that? General alert. Yeah, that's not important.
That's admin. We're not going to read that.
Yeah.
You just call him TB.
Everyone just calls him new guy.
New guy. Yeah.
The Ripley.
It's TBC stands for. Is that bloody crewman?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's many variations on that name that will be going around. And who's the new guy? Anyway, the point is you're at the helm, and as I say, everyone's looking around. We've determined that the planet is. So just to reiterate, you've come here because your scans have determined, and scans from the starbase have determined that this planet is particularly a source of increased EM radiation bursts, all tied in with the stuff that you've been tracking before. Also, it's worth remembering that you've now got this new guy. Again, another bit of admin that I will do for next time is that you've also now got Thasin on board. So Thasin is one of the he's a Tilical, but he's one of the he's the Tilical that was on the crew of the Vinchari, or rather of the Arcasay vessel. So he's one of the returned Tilical who was freed some time ago, but he's agreed to basically assist you because obviously with his familiarity with with his people and technology and so on. And so with his assistance, you've now, as I say, been able to narrow down this planet. And again, with the agreement of Starfleet, you've come here to investigate. So you approach this planet. Your initial scans tell you that it's tidally locked, which is a known phenomena. And again, that this seems to be the only habitable planet in this system. In fact, it's the only planet in this system. And so your options really are that you have to send a shuttle down to investigate because you cannot use transporters due to this static interference or static field that is being generated by these objects in the atmosphere that you can't get a clear read on.
It looks like I'm flying again.
Well, I guess you probably will get the new helmsman to fly because that would be that would be excellent for him to get some field experience.
On it, Captain.
So Naismith orders Kaz to assemble an away team, which will no doubt conveniently feature all of the major characters.
I'll sit up and go. Hang on a minute. So who's on duty shift? Tell you what, you, and you with me.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And as if by magic, it's all the people that are on this call. So
it's everybody that's in line of sight.
Yeah.
Has the new guy got a red shirt on?
Actually, he does have a red shirt because he's because pilots have got red shirts, which is unfortunate for many reasons.
Bloom, do you have any spare body bags?
Just asking for a friend.
Yes.
Would it be
asking for an unnamed colleague?
Actually, every red shirt now comes with a body bag sewn in the back, so it's easy to just
with an inflatable.
Sort of flip it
so you've got
over.
like an inflatable you've got an inflatable body bag.
It's like an airbag. It's just like an airbag.
Like an airbag.
BBC, that bloody corpse.
So
the other thing I wanted to ask is, have you taken a specimen from him yet, Kevin? You've done it with everyone else.
I'm sure the specimen gathering is part of the induction procedure when they come on board.
As I shook his hand, it's.
Oh, what was that? What was that? Nothing. Don't worry about the little needle. That's totally normal. Now the question is: Are you going to take the runabout, or are you going to take a shuttle? It's up to you. I mean, I use the phrase shuttle, but I mean you could use the runabout if you want.
I feel all of us again in a shuttle in the runabout. We got it docked there for a reason, so we'll take the runabout.
Yeah, cool. All right, so
be careful.
There's the runabout.
Just be careful with my baby. Don't.
I take it you're coming as well, right, Kaz? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You don't think I'm going to let anybody fly my baby without me sitting on top of them, do you?
No. There you go. So you basically So Naismith just gives you general, you know what your orders are. Just to basically go and investigate the source of the, investigate the source of the static electricity, or the static field, but predominantly to check out the telecol technology. This planet's never been visited before, so obviously Prime Directive may be in effect, depending on your assessment of the situation. And other than that, you're in command, because the chances are that communications will be spotty at best. So
can we back up some signal? Ara, can we? Have you got anything that a portable signal booster?
I've got this Wi-Fi extender.
Yeah, but what I mean is, have we got a portable signal generator? That
certainly.
We know there's going to be signal. We know there's going to be issues with the signal.
In that case, we should take the runabout and the shuttle, and then position the shuttle closer to the surface, so that we can bounce signals to the shuttle through line of sight transmissions.
Semaphore if necessary.
In its crudest form, semaphore. But if we do line of sight to the shuttle, then the shuttle can then, or the run, whichever is the simpler one, can then pass on to the ship.
You can certainly do that if you wish. That's that's a good idea. Obviously, you just don't know. The bottom line is you don't know how successful or how strong the interference is, but that's a good. It seems like a sensible kind of precaution.
We can test signal strength as we go down. Bouncing a signal, and then I can write an algorithm to hypothesize the best method of enhancing the signal as we go down, so as it gets an understanding of the differences.
Isn't it worth launching a probe beforehand, Kevin? If you launch the probe to send the signal, and then you can make all your analysis before we go.
That is also an excellent idea. You can certainly do that.
Take the use the probe that I set for self detonation.
No, we're in a first.
What is it with you and detonation? Honestly,
we don't know at this point whether there's any life on the planet. Do we? Or we do?
You're not sure. This planet's not been explored before. In fact, it's not even on the. So hundreds of years ago, or certainly in the last 100 years, there's been before the Narendra station was constructed. There were some investigations, and some of the systems that you visited had been at least either mapped by science probes or had been long-range sensors. But this is one system that's never been visited or probed before. You're not detecting as a sort of a freebie because Osterhagen made a scan of the system when you arrived. You certainly weren't detecting any either subspace energy sources, which would indicate warp drives. So usually, if you enter a system and there's ships buzzing about, that have got warp drive, then you would detect that. And also, you're not detecting any, or you haven't detected any communications emanating from the surface. So obviously, if you were to visit Earth, even in the 20th century, you would pick up, there's radio broadcasts, there's, satellites, there's television, all that stuff going on, and so a starship would easily be able to, even from a great distance, would know that there was life, if for no other reason than because of that. So you're not picking up any of that stuff. You're not picking up radio transmissions. You're not picking up any sort of signals, because that's routine. That a Starfleet vessel will scan for all of that, known stuff as soon as you enter a new system, any system. The sensors, the passive sensors, will automatically start picking that stuff up. So yes, at this point you're not sure is all you know. Yeah.
Visually on screen, if we were to view the planet, are there any sort of dots of light on the dark side of the planet?
Okay, that's a good question. So you can basically you get the new helm guy to sort of you can request just a reorientation of the ship. So he basically turns the ship so that you get a glimpse of the night side, and you're not seeing any other than this shimmering effect, which is uniform around the whole planet. So as I mentioned, the atmosphere is kind of almost like rippling. It's like a rippling, shimmering effect, and as I say, it doesn't seem like there's electrical storms or whatever, but it is something odd about the look of the atmosphere. You've seen hundreds of planets from space, and this one seems unique, but you're not seeing any light sources. So obviously, as you would expect, that if there were settlements of any size, then you might see light. So no, you're not seeing anything like that at all. The night side seems to be dark, apart from this odd shimmery effect, which is, as I say, covers the whole planet. It's not just on the dark side.
It's the whole planet is encased in this shimmering.
Well, I heard you were going to use the word protected there, and that's an implication I haven't made. All I've said is the atmosphere is shimmery, so that it might look like a force field, but there's nothing that
unprotected planet then.
I was actually...
all you lot are tricky.
The imprisoned planet. Come on,
imprisoned.
The planet of death.
Dang it! You've seen right through my plot.
What comes to my
all of that from using the word shimmering. I mean, come on. No. So all I'm saying is, as I say, there's nothing to other than there's this static, there's this odd energy.
What I was trying to say was, is the you say we can't pick up any life signs on it. It's basically it's fog. Come on, forget it. Don't mind. Carry on.
No, it's all right. Go on. No, it's all right.
Okay, could that be some sort of basic cloaking device hiding what's down there, meaning we can't scan it?
Okay, I mean, it's a fair question. Again, you don't get that impression. This seems to be, again, based upon your observations so far and based upon the readings that Osterhagen has picked up, and observation. As I say, there's no sign of any. There's no sign of large cities on the night side of the planet. There's no orbital installations. There's no obvious sign of, like I say, warp traffic. And this seems, at least from this, from your initial investigations, this appears to be a natural effect of some sort. Yes, it could be cloaking. There is some. Because again, the word cloaking device implies it's like an intentional attempt to hide something. But it might be that it might be, preventing you from seeing everything, because, as I said, the scans are kind of intermittent. But again,
do we know the chemical makeup of the atmosphere?
I'm sure you can determine that.
Yeah.
It is breathable. Let's just say it is breathable. So it is. Okay. It is breathable. It's a Class M planet, which means in Star Trek parlance that it is close to Earth. What do they call it, Mike? Is it a Vinchari class? What was the word they used in? Because it wasn't Vinchari. Do you remember in Enterprise? Something like Minshar class or something like that. That was but basically M class, which is what I think.
So we can rule out that it's not like the atmosphere is causing this effect, like due to its chemical makeup.
Kind of, yeah. Again, yes, exactly. That's perfectly reasonable. Okay. It seems, as I say, it seems to be a natural phenomenon, because again, you've been observing it for a little while and there's been no change. So it's not like it's not like there's a cloaking field being put up because you've arrived, for example. It appears that that's just what the atmosphere does.
Is there any sort of resemblance to the Northern Lights effect?
Yeah, that's a fair. I was going to try and use a longer word then. Corollary.
I can't say it. It's the word I cannot pronounce.
Yeah, corollary. That's a fair. That's a fair. Again, it's certainly pretty. As I say, the atmosphere is sort of shimmery, and yes, Northern Lights is a good way of putting it. Maybe not as intense.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Northern Lights is quite a dramatic effect, but if you kind of turn that down by about half, and then kind of put it around the whole planet, then that's a fair assessment.
And can we ascertain whether or not the solar flares coming from the star has any correlation to the shimmering effect, or is it too constant to make a?
No, you can. Again, I won't even get Osterhagen to roll for that because I'm putting this all under the category of your sort of initial system survey. And no, the stellar activity appears to be fairly stable. That the star is in its kind of midlife phase.
Okay.
And there certainly are no solar flares occurring at the moment. And again, because you can see this effect, then that would imply that they are not dependent on solar flare activity.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Let's shoot some trash into it and see what happens.
Okay. So you, Osterhagen liaises with Giara, and you basically have a probe prepared and it takes about 20 minutes to get a probe kind of hooked up and.
Minshara class.
Minshara. Is it Minshara?
Minshara.
I'm sure that's where M class comes from, isn't it?
Minshara.
Minshara. Okay, perfect. So you basically prepare a probe, and Kalish, loads it into the torpedo launcher, and you launch the probe, and the probe shoots out the front of the Vigilant and kind of heads over or arcs down into the atmosphere of the planet, and you track it for you presumably rigged it to broadcast a signal, right? Because you want to see how long it lasts before you lose the signal. Is that correct?
Yes.
So basically this probe, what you've done is you've set it to I'm going to say that you've set it to land in one of the oceans, because the planet does have oceans. And so again, if there is a native population, obviously you don't want this thing to be observed, and you certainly don't want it landing in the middle of a village or something.
No.
So you kind of set this probe to go into the atmosphere and then head down into, basically drop into one of the oceans, so it will be unobserved, and you keep a signal with it until it's about halfway down into the atmosphere. So it's probably, I don't know, a few miles from the surface, and then you begin to lose its signal, and it becomes clear that you may be able to set up a relay with the shuttle as you described, and the shuttle will have to basically descend into the kind of ionosphere for it to be able to keep some sort of a relay in place. So you can make those arrangements if you wish to do so.
Yeah. Sort of.
Okay.
Oh, that worked out.
So what you do? So you detail. Kaz will detail one of the junior pilots to. So obviously TBC is going to come down. Is going to fly the runabout. But you delegate. I don't know, Katie West. She's the watch officer. So Katie West is going to fly she's going to basically pilot the shuttle, and then she will follow you down, and then she will hold position in the ionosphere, and hopefully maintain a communications link. Okay, that seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'm just going to make a note. Shuttle pilot. Katie West, RIP. Oh, did I say that last bit out loud? Okay. Right, fine. So you prepare your mission. So you gather your equipment. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, was that a question?
Sorry, am I driving the shuttle?
No, you're gonna fly the runabout, which is the bigger shuttle. So if you look on your screen at the moment, I think in the in Roll20, hopefully that's the runabout, and the runabout is essentially a It's a smaller starship. It's bigger than a shuttle. You can see there that it's got cockpit at the front, and it's got sort of a room at the back, and it's got more capabilities. It's better protected, and it's got better weapons than a shuttle. And the Vigilant has been modified to have a runabout docked into the belly of the ship, which is not normal. But your ship is a test bed for this, so you've got this at your disposal. Casey
so
West,
I'm driving the runabout. Are we going to land on the planet?
Yeah, so you're going to fly the runabout down, piloting these guys with you. And
Alex,
West,
you're responsible for all of our lives. So
no pressure. No pressure then.
Some of us have parachutes on,
Dave,
and we're all watching you intently. Every button you push, we're all going.
Just like hugging the seat in front of you,
Dave.
And they're going to have to physically restrain Kaz from sitting on that console, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I'm sitting.
Light pen.
I'm sitting in the console next to him. It's sort of like.
Yeah, fair enough. You can do that.
I'm sort of like watching
like a driving instructor.
You're going to put L plates on it. Yeah.
We're making stabilizer jokes.
He has graduated from the academy. He can fly a thing.
Very, very nervous. Watching him with very sort of like. No.
Do we have insurance?
Yeah, of course.
You only need it if you crash it.
Third party only. Third party fire and theft. Right. Oh, actually,
third party fire and disintegration.
Just to digress a little bit on that note, something interesting happened in our street last night. It's around the back of us, the other side, because my street's like a semicircle, and the other half of the street last night, apparently, somebody's Range Rover got nicked off their drive. And apparently the guy's alarm went off, so he came running out of his house, chasing the people nicking his Range Rover. And apparently, in the attempt to escape in the Range Rover, the guy, whoever stole it, crashed into about 5 cars down the side of the road, basically trashing all these cars.
I was going to say, your road is a bugger. It is a bugger,
everywhere. Yeah. So basically, the opposite side of where I am, Karen, over by where the Bower is.
Yeah.
There's a house up on a little rise there, and that guy's got 2 Range Rovers on a drive. So one of them was stolen, and apparently, the guy trying to nick the car basically ended up totaling about 4 or 5 other cars on the road, or abandoning the Range Rover, because obviously the Range Rover could be tracked. So that was a bit of drama that happened last night. We weren't aware of it, of course, but it was all on over the sort of residents group this morning, So yeah, that's
Oosh.
a bit of a thing. Anyway, I don't know why I talked about that. Just insurance that set me off. Anyway, great. So right, so you guys all gather all of your gear. I'm going to assume that you've got all the usual equipment. You don't need to. You've all got weapons. You've got tricorders, supplies. Obviously, the runabout has got it has got a lot of equipment on it anyway. You've mentioned that you've got communication boosters as well. All of that is fine. So you take a little while to get all that boxed up, and you Casey West reports to one of the other shuttle bays, because the Vigilant has got like two small shuttle bays either side. So she basically gets on the shuttle. So you establish communications with Shuttle 1. I don't think, Mike, we never came up with names for the shuttles, did we?
I don't believe so.
Right.
Huey and Louie. Is that...
I'm up for that, actually. Huey, Louie, and Dewey. Yeah, from Silent Running. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
That's the one.
Let's
which
go
one
with that
died? Before we establish names,
Spoiler
which
alert.
which one was the one that actually died?
Spoiler alert. I think 2 of them died, don't they?
Yeah, because there's only one left at the end of it.
There's only one left on the. That's what always made me cry when I was a kid watching that film.
I was about to say I think there was only one left, but I wasn't sure because of all the water getting in my eyes.
Yeah, that's exactly. No, I think there was only one left. But anyway, we'll go with Huey, Louie, and Dewey. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll say that the maintenance pod is called Dewey, and Huey and Louie are the other two shuttles. I like that idea. At least unofficially they're called that. They might be called something else officially, but unofficially they've been named Huey, Louie, and Dewey, so that works. Okay, so so she's in Huey, Shuttle 1, and so as Alex, you do your pre-flight checks, and with aware of the fact that you've got the first officer and the chief helmsman sitting to your right, kind of trying not to watch, but obviously watching to see what you're doing.
Is that meant to be attached with duct tape? Sorry, what?
What's that?
Oh, I made a joke. Never mind. I said, was that meant to be attached with duct tape?
That's the plumbing, dear boy.
Yeah, it's just the plumbing. And yeah, So and you notice there's some scratches on the bulkhead. Who's been scratching this bulkhead? And Kaz looks very nervous at that point. Anyway, so you go through your pre-flight checks, and we have an expensive special effects sequence, which you'll just have to imagine, where the runabout you kind of power the runabout up, and the docking latches come free, and the runabout sort of drops from the belly of the Defiant class Vigilant, and you kind of gracefully fly down towards the planet, and on your port side, your sensors tell you that Shuttle 1 has also launched from the shuttle bay, and Shuttle 1 is kind of following you in, on a parallel course. And as you enter you begin to enter the upper atmosphere, then things get start to get quite bumpy. And as you carry on course, then Shuttle 1 kind of falls away behind you as she takes up a position as agreed in the ionosphere, and you begin to then settle lower into the atmosphere. Okay, so right, TBC, as you drop down, again things begin to get a little bit bumpy, but not too bad. You already passed through the shimmery atmosphere thing, and your instruments and everything are working okay. And as you begin to descend, however, you pick up a proximity alert. There's a notice goes off on your console that tells you that there is something approaching. And as you proceed, you suddenly see some sort of enormous life form looms up in front of you, and it looks basically like a giant jellyfish floating in the atmosphere, complete with tentacles kind of trailing behind it. And you can see that on its upper surface, it's kind of partially transparent, but also shimmery in a similar way to the atmosphere. So you get the impression that this is possibly or life forms like it are what are creating the shimmery effect in the atmosphere. And your sensors are definitely telling you that it is a life form rather than a vessel. And as you proceed, you kind of, you're all kind of watching this on the display. And as you proceed, you inadvertently make contact with one of these many tendrils that are trailing behind it. And as you do so, the hull gets blasted with a very large electrostatic discharge, which then essentially cuts off your impulse engines, and the shuttle begins to go into free fall.
It wasn't me, I didn't do it.
Steve?
Yes?
Just a question. Do these things look like the creatures from Farpoint?
I'm going to say yes for the purposes of visualization. They are not in any way intended to be the same creatures, I don't think.
Okay, no.
But they do look like them.
Okay.
Hang on a
As this
second.
happens, you can see Osterhagen handing over credits to Kalish, having lost the bet.
Say that again, Kevin.
As this happens,
were you being sarky there?
No. Osterhagen hands over credits to Kalish for losing the bet.
You'd be in trouble. You'd be in trouble there because Starfleet doesn't use money.
You've still got Latinum, haven't you? Gold press Latinum probably tucked away for a rainy day.
There are bits of paper saying I owe you 1 credit, whatever that means.
Okay, so Alex, right, we're going to get you to do what's called a gated challenge here, which you've got a few things you're going to have to do to be able to regain control. And this is a test. You are being marked on this, so.
Oh God.
Right, so the first thing that you have to do is you're going to have to basically carry out a manual engine restart. So what you are going to have to do, so do you remember how to make task roles in this? So on your character sheet.
Yeah, I remember. What attributes and dispute?
So what you're going to do is I want you to select control first of all. So click on control at the top left there, and then underneath your disciplines, I want you to select engineering.
Yeah.
So on the row below, perfect. Okay, so you have got so focuses. I'm going to tick on the box that says focuses yes, because you've got the focus of small craft, which is what the runabout is. Okay, so where it says task roll, so on the right hand side you've got dice roller. Task roll is already set to 2 dice, which is correct, like that. So when you're ready, if you just click on the little dice icon, there you go. Perfect. 3 successes.
Oof.
Excellent work. So what that means is, so that was a difficulty 1 task, which you've succeeded with, and I'm going to give you 2 points of momentum. So I've got, give me a sec. I have actually. Hello.
Alex never got the memo. Then we never succeed that well.
I know exactly. Alex, if you could just remember next time to fail, that would be great.
I'm sorry. It's the rookie making you look bad.
Yeah. Right. So you've got you've got 2 momentum in front of me. So you've succeeded with a difficulty of 1. And so with a success, basically you manage, the first thing you do is you restart the impulse engine. So you kind of recycle as the ship is beginning to plummet and everyone's looking slightly worried. You basically have managed to restart the engine, and that means you're now beginning to get power back. So the next thing that you need to do is you're going to reroute power to the inertial dampeners, because your ride is quite bumpy at the moment, because the inertial dampeners are like an energy field which absorbs it's kinetic energy. So it's what the ships use, because otherwise if you went to high speeds on a ship you'd be subject to gravitational effects and g-forces and so on. So the inertial dampeners kind of absorb all of that stuff. So so to do this, you're going to do a control and engineering roll again. So exactly the same dice that you've already picked, and you've already got the focuses, because the small craft focus is exactly the same. So if you want to roll again for me, now you have got 2 momentum. So do you want to spend? Right. So you've made 2 successes there. Now this was a perfect difficulty 2. So you've succeeded. You don't generate any more momentum, but you have succeeded. So what that means is you've managed to stabilize the internal dampeners. So the ride for all of you becomes a lot smoother, and the turbulence begins to recede a bit.
I just want to point out that I was belted in from the start, but I didn't trust him or anything.
Of course, yeah. And you were gripping the arms of your chair like nervously, were you?
There's some now hefty claw marks in the armrests of the chair.
The good news is that the fluffy dice are not bumping around so much anymore, so you can see what's going on. Okay, so your final task that you're going to do is you're going to have to bypass the autopilot to regain manual control, because when the engines cut out, the ship went into like autopilot. So you're going to have to basically bypass because the autopilot looks like it's been fried by the static discharge. So you're just going to have to basically regain control manually. So to do that, it's going to be a control or daring. So if you look at your character sheet, so your best option is, they're both the same, control and daring.
Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it on control.
That's perfect. So go for control, and then you're going to change your discipline is going to change to con, which is your piloting skill. So that's the one on the left. That's it. You're going to do control, did you say? Again, focus is still being used because you're using your small craft again. So if you want to roll for me. Oh, you've done that. There we go. 3 successes. Blimey. Right, that's another point of momentum gets added to the pot. So you've now got 3 points of momentum as a group, which is great. And what that means is you've managed to basically regain control, and you then are able to, you basically regain control as the ship begins to, you've righted the ship, you've smoothed the ride, and you're now descending under control. to the planet's surface. And as you kind of drop down into the lower atmosphere, I'm just going to change the view back to the kind of title page, which gives you a kind of a view of what you see as you descend. So the planet's surface looks very much like this. So as you can see, it's kind of big rocky spires and shimmering sky. And some of these structures that you're seeing, you see this tilical energy. You see those blue lines on the structures, and that's indicative, as we know, of the tilical technology that we've seen before.
Anyone see any eggs? Do not look in them. Repeat. Do not look in any eggs that may or may not be lying around.
Do not look in any eggs.
Has anyone noticed the picture that's been put in chat?
Yes, I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, what's canon? I just can't tell.
Yeah. No, the good news is the runabout doesn't look like that because you've managed to pilot it. So you've now regained control. So you're kind of you're now flying along quite handily. So Osterhagen, I want you to make a reason plus science roll just to basically scan the planet. Essentially, you're doing a planetary scan now that you're under the static interference.
So given that I've got xenobiology, I'm going to click focus.
Works for me. So it's reason plus science, difficulty Z. Bloody hell, look at that.
Word.
Pardon my French, but look, right, so you've now...
What we're basically learning is these old character sheets that you did were rubbish, but the new ones are actually so much better.
I think what you'll find is the algorithm is probably better.
That's just maths.
Mm-hmm.
That's just algebra. That doesn't count.
The maths is better. Right, there you go, guys. So so you've now got a full suite of you've got a full suite of momentum. You've got 6 points of momentum. Right, so your scan reveals what appears to be population. You're picking up life signs now that you're in the atmosphere, now that you're closer to the surface.
Hello.
And it seems to be mostly clustered in a city on the ridge, in the basically on the horizon ahead of you. And as your runabout is approaching, you are also picking up pulses of vibration, which is coming from some of the stone spires that you can see in the distance as you're flying along. Now, if you want to spend a point of momentum to get further, I can give you some more information. And as you've got 6, that would probably not be a bad thing to do. Yeah. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep.
So just to remind everyone, momentum is there to give you a bit of agency in a scene. So you can use it to add dice to a roll, or you can get it to re-roll dice, or you can, in this case, you can spend it to gain more information. So as I say, your basic scan has told you that there are life signs and that they mostly appear to be concentrated in a city ahead of you. And now the extra momentum tells you that what you've also detected is there are large life forms also in the ocean, deep below the surface in the ocean below you. And also, you also are picking up those life signs, those floating jellyfish creatures that you've just encountered. Again, your scans are now revealing that there are multitudes of them just floating in the upper atmosphere.
But they're not actually connected with the city or the spires that we can see.
Not that you can see. They just seem to be. I don't know if any of you have seen that kind of. There was a famous series of artwork that somebody did based around Jupiter. What they kind of speculated, in a gas giant. And one of the things they had was this notion of these kind of large creatures just sort of drifting through the atmosphere. So this is essentially.
I've seen that.
You know what I mean? There's some artwork, isn't there? They're kind of like jellyfish, kind of floating around in the atmosphere of Jupiter. So again, this is what you're seeing: is these seem to be another type of life form, but they just their existence just seems to be that they kind of float around in the upper atmosphere, probably absorbing solar radiation and then re-emitting it as static energy. And that seems to be what is causing the atmospheric shimmer. It's like a naturally occurring byproduct of these creatures and their life cycle. But there doesn't seem to be anything to imply that they're connected with the the life forms on the surface. They just appear to be a part of the sort of natural biosphere of this planet. And similarly, these creatures in the ocean are, again, they seem, I mean, for the want of a better word, I guess, like whales or something. They're definitely a seaborne. In fact, the ocean has got lots of life forms in it of various types, but these particular, there's these big creatures kind of drifting around. Yeah, there you go, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. That's a very good image. Yeah, let's go with that. That works for me. So anyway, so this planet seems to be quite an interesting ecosystem so far from what you've seen. And as I say, you're flying along now. Shuttle's under control. And as you approach, so you're heading towards this city. So as you approach, and again, this is in the distance, you can see there's a band of what appear to be black basalt pillars rising from the water, with several 400-meter tall spires which are spread across the horizon. Each of them has a flat top and glowing blue veins of power coursing through them. So that image that you're seeing on the screen is representing those spires with the energy patterns coursing through them. As you observe from a distance, you can see a few crystalline-looking ships appear to be landing and taking off from the tops of the spires. There are many lights floating around the buildings of the city in the distance, and these buildings seem almost to be made from glass. So, do you want to, Kevin, do you want to do a scan of those spires for me? So you can use reason plus science or engineering. Giara, you can assist on this one as well if you like.
Reason plus science, because so this is, we don't think these spires can conform to any xenobiology. So I'm going to click no to focus.
Yeah, they seem to be mechanical. As I say, this seems to be the source of the Tilical technology that you had. Because again, you recognise that's a characteristic of Tilical technology, is those blue veins of energy running through them. But as I say, if you want to make your roll, and then if you succeed, Giara can assist you with a. Oh, you just made it.
I haven't done it yet.
No, you make another one.
Just as an aside, how do you spell Tilical?
Tili, comma Kaal, something like that.
Okay.
Or if you just type in, if you're searching for it, yeah, Tilical, but definitely Tilikaal, I think. Okay, right. So you
none of this is cold, is it? It's all. It's not Arctic waste.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, it's temperate. It's the temperature's quite pleasant. It's kind of like, I don't know, 22 degrees. Pick a number out of thin air, but it's very pleasant. No, so the blue is not indicative of cold. It is this kind of Tilical energy.
It's the Tilical word that resonates to something else, but that's probably
you're
minor.
thinking of, that's definitely a Lovecraft reference, I'm guessing, is it?
Well, it's an Edgar Allan Poe, the narration of Arthur Pym, where it originates, that Lovecraft stole from. But let's not do that. That's
no, but it might be that the writer of this scenario might have been familiar with that, so that I wouldn't rule that out. But
right.
Okay, so you've succeeded. So Giara, do you want to make a roll for me as well? If you just want to do reason plus engineering, just roll one die. I've just done that. I've just rolled one dice for me because you're assisting. Perfect. Bloody, you are on fire this evening. Look at that. That's another. So you've now gone up to you've gone back up to 6 momentum again. Yeah, you're back up to 6 momentum.
Runabout's on fire.
And okay, so what you did? Well, you're not actually on fire. Okay, so what you detect is that this vibrational. Hello, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was just saying hello. Is that 999?
So what you detect with your scans, and as I say, the pair of you are kind of huddled over the science console examining this. You detect that these vibrational pulses that you were picking up on your initial scan seem to be originating from a different dimensional frequency. So again, smart money is probably on the fact that this is something to do with the other dimension that you visited before. Again, your sensors are kind of confirming that these vibrational pulses are not something that they're basically like a dimensional resonance from another dimension. And you can detect also, because you've done so well with your scan there, you can also detect, or you suspect, that the control mechanism for these pulses is coming from somewhere on the planet, although at the moment you cannot pinpoint the location. Okay, so you've definitely got some information there to to sort of chew over for a minute.
Right. I've got a question.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of. You say these things are pulsing, like pulses?
No, they are sending out a vibrational pulse. It's not visible.
Okay.
Your sensors can pick up this vibration, and your sensors have also determined that this is originating from another dimensional plane.
Is there any?
Is that the frequency that they're pulsing at? Is it similar to the wavelength to the car? Yeah, but
yes, that's what you suspect. You definitely would suspect that is something to do with the Tilicol. Again, given the the presence of Tilicol technology.
If that's something that's trapped them, maybe this is what's generating the Prism.
Possibly. You don't know. That's certainly, that's certainly an option. Again, you don't have enough information to make that detect. All you can tell is there is definitely some correlation between, this planet has got something. It's got Tilicol technology embedded in it, and also that these pulses are in some way tied to the other dimension that you visited in connection with the Tilicol. So.
Is it worth
as you are
mulling
this over? No, go on. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the pulses that we're detecting. Is it worth thinking about them in terms of could it be a form of communication?
Excellent notion. Yeah, it certainly could be. What you can do then is, Giara, you can basically you start, for want of a better word, recording the. You can detect the frequency of the pulses, if that makes sense. So, and you can basically start a track of that, and obviously you can then get the computers to analyze it to see whether there is any kind of discernible language form. Obviously, Starfleet vessels have universal translators. So what you can do is you can basically, you can just have your sensors record the pulses, and essentially you draw up a waveform. And then you can feed that into the translation matrix to see whether it can pick anything out. At the moment, all you can tell is there is this vibrational pulse, but certainly there could be communication, hidden within it. That's a very good notion.
Jake.
Excellent. Okay, so as you are proceeding, so first question is, I suppose, it certainly appears, now you've got no evidence that in terms of prime directive here, because you've seen ships, you've seen what are definitely vessels, powered vessels lifting off from this city in the distance. So they've obviously got technology. Again, you've detected, the presence of a city and so on. So there is some sort of technology. Now you've got no evidence at the moment to confirm whether or not there is warp technology. So how do you want to proceed at this point in terms of your approach? Because at the moment you're flying along in the runabout. You've seen no indication that they have detected you. But obviously, do you want to just go land on one of these platforms and sort of say, take me to your leader, or do you want to set the shuttle down and observe from a distance first before you make a plan?
I think that's an idea. Is if we sit down, maybe on top of one of these pylons, or because you said it's assuming it's like a flat area, and just observe the city for a while, take sensor readings and scans. See what.
The only thing is, if you set down on one of those platforms, that this appears to be where the ships are taking off. They seem to be like landing platforms. So obviously, if you sit down on one of those, then you're likely to be observed. Whereas if you just plop it down on the edge of this ocean, because you're that orange, sort of purpley orange surface there is there's like an ocean under you, and there is like a shoreline. So you could literally just land on the shoreline and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's up to you. Like I say, you can do it. You can approach it either way. You can literally go and land, or you can. As I say,
I think we'll land on the shoreline. just observe the city for a while, take some scans, make a survey, see. As I say, just try and gather as much information we can before we decide whether we're going to go any further.
Okay, so I'm not going to make Alex make a roll to land because you've got plenty of momentum and you've got the ship under control. So you essentially, Alex, you bring the runabout into a landing on the bank or one of the say on the shoreline of this ocean, and the ship, essentially you just land and you run a quick scan of the atmosphere. But as we suggested earlier, the atmosphere is certainly breathable. So there's no problem with you, getting out of the shuttle and having a look around if you want to do so. Hello?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Well, I don't know.
Sorry,
You
what?
tell me. I said, so you've landed, the ship has landed, you've now landed on the shoreline. You've checked to make sure that the atmosphere is breathable, which it is. The temperature is a pleasant 22 degrees. There's no harmful radiation. So you're certainly able to get out of the shuttle if you wish to do so. Also, sorry, go on.
It's trial by fire, red shirt. Time to go first.
Out you go.
Great.
Can you breathe
They
it?
just kick you out the airlock to see what happens.
Can you
Watch
breathe
through
the
the window.
atmosphere?
You start looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall.
And the rest is going, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Also, what you can do is you can try and test the communication with the ship. Would be a good idea because again, you've got the shuttle. So I'll just assume that Kaz kind of opens a channel and says this is runabout to Kaz to Huey, and you get a slightly crackly response from her, but she can definitely read you, and she confirms that she's still in communication with the ship. So it does appear that you have some communication with the ship if you wish it. So you can report back to Naismith if you want as well.
It's like a plan, yeah. Tell him,
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going to update the ship.
Sure.
Saying that we decided this is what we found. We're going to do a quick survey before proceeding.
Okay. He concurs with your assessment. And again, I'm going to assume that you just kind of basically get out of the shuttle and have a nose about because it's a very pretty looking planet. Again, looking at that image gives you a good idea. It's very impressive vista that you see. And again, these spires kind of sort of dominate around. But as I say, you've picked a nice spot to land. There's no sign of any life around you. There's just the ocean, and as I say, you've got this kind of lovely view of these spires. And again, as you look at the spires, and you're kind of doing the typical thing. You're out with your tricorders, taking readings and so on. And again, you can see the kind of energy pulsating on these spires. Even as you look at them, it's quite obvious. And as you're looking around, so is there anything you particularly want to look for first of all? So you're out on this shoreline. The runabout is quite happily parked, on the beach essentially, and you're out kind of poking around just to see what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything in particular that any of you want to look for or do before I move on?
Any sign of civilization, really?
So in the distance, again, your sensors told you that there is a city and you can see it. Basically, it's basically a few miles distant. You can see this big ridge that kind of rises up, and on this ridge appears to be the city. And as I say, you can see in the distance some of these spires closer to this city. You can see lights that indicate ships kind of taking off and landing, or shuttles or whatever. And there's definitely some form of life. You can see this all quite clearly from where you are.
Do we have any?
Again, you're in perpetual daylight, so. But again, it's quite clear that the city is quite large and looks relatively advanced. It's not like buildings are made of glass, and it looks quite impressive.
Do we have any idea where these ships are going? All these ships that are taking off?
No, they just seem to be going about their business. You just see lights which indicate like running lights, if you like, on these ships. And you can see them again. You can see from the top of these pillars. One takes off and it kind of drifts off out of sight, and another one comes in and lands. And
are they going up into orbit, or are they just?
Not that you can see. They seem to be travelling the length. They could almost be like aircraft. They're travelling the length of the city. They kind of seem to be confined to the city.
Okay. Shuttles.
Sorry, go ahead. Buses,
like shuttle ships,
or buses, shuttles or buses or trains, or they seem to be just coming and going. But they seem to be relatively confined to the city, so you don't see any of these ships heading off into orbit or heading off, across the ocean. They all seem to be kind of toing and froing within the confines of the city, as far as you can tell. But you're not really close enough to tell anything about them. They seem to glint, so it suggests they might be made from crystal or, again, glass. You just see lots of light glinting off these things as they're moving about. Okay, so as you're investigating, one of you, doesn't matter who, let's say Kalish. Kalish, you kind of are investigating the shoreline, and again, this ocean, it's a very large body of water. Again, it kind of certainly spans, as far as your eye can see, in the other directions. Obviously, this ridge line kind of seems to mark the end of the ocean, of this sea, in the distance to where you are. But the rest of the, you can see this ocean is kind of quite large, and it seems very calm. It's not like tidal, so there's no waves. It's just kind of like a mill pond almost. And as you're kind of just investigating the shoreline, you can see, floating in the water, your eye is drawn to what looks like clusters of shimmering particles. And as you kind of, you look closer, you can see that these are kind of flashing through a whole rainbow of colours. And they appear to be kind of clustered together in several groups of these things, are kind of clustered together.
Okay.
So I don't know whether you want to investigate any closer.
I assume I've got my tricorder on me.
You do indeed. So if you'd like to let's make a tricorder roll. So if you make a reason and science, I guess, or actually, you've probably got a security tricorder, so you probably use reason and security.
Okay.
So you can roll that, because that's a good. And don't forget, you've got plenty of momentum to spend. I've taken one momentum off because we've gone into a new scene, but again, you've got 5 momentum to spend. But I think you'll probably be okay.
It doesn't look like I've got a focus that's relevant.
Maybe not, but
no.
Yeah, that's just fine. Just roll your two dice for that.
Oh.
You can spend a point of momentum and re-roll if you want. Again, you've got plenty of momentum. That you've still got 5.
Yeah. Go on then. Let's take a point of momentum and re-roll that.
Okay, go ahead. Try that again. There we go.
Well, you say perfect. One of them's a critical miss. Or a complication. That's it.
So right, you drop your tricorder in the woods. Okay. So So as you're you scan with your tricorder, and you think from your tricorder readings, they indicate that these are actually a life form with electrical biosigns. So you're picking up recognizable biosigns from these, and it seems that each cluster of these particles seems to be a different life form, but it looks as if their bodies are actually made from liquid and seem to be dissolving in the ocean. So they seem as if they're in some sort of distress.
Okay. We've hit a world of changelings.
It could almost be. I'm not going to confirm or deny that rumor, but you're definitely on the right lines. Yes, it looks like this. This obviously is not a physical, not a life form that you would recognize as a physical being. It doesn't have a body as such, but it appears that this thing they seem to be almost being dissolved by the ocean. So I don't know. Any thoughts on how you could maybe assist them?
Boil the water off. Can we get some idea of? Can I scan the actual water, not the life forms, the liquid that they are in?
Yes, you can. So make a.
The last thing you want to do is put your hands in sulfuric acid.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Make a make a tricorder roll. So again, reason and science.
Come on.
Your complication, Perrin, by the way.
Yep.
So I think we'll come back to that. I need to think about that for a minute. So,
I mean, I'm happy to have dropped the tricorder, so I no longer get use of it.
No, it's okay. I'll come back to it for the moment because, like I say, there's no obvious kind of cost at the moment. But I'll come back to it. I'll just bear it in mind. So we'll carry on for now, and if something appears, we'll make use of that. But
don't think I've got anything that riff. But what?
Yeah, just roll your 2 dice, Mike. It's fine. It's only going to take you 1 success. Okay. Oh, so you rolled it twice, but I'm going to take the first one because you've got 2 successes.
Take the first one.
Okay, so that gives you a point of momentum back, so you're back up to 5. And right, okay, so yes, I mean, I'm not going to go into chemical composition mainly because they've not written it down, but basically the ocean is harmed, that the water is not going to harm you. It is a saline solution of some. It is like typical seawater, basically.
Okay.
It's slightly different chemically from our oceans, but I mean, it's not going to cause you any harm. It's not acid or anything nasty.
Okay.
It is as it appears to be. It is, basically.
So how many of these things are in the water? Is it like a?
There seems to be about half. There's about half a dozen of these little. I'm going to call them colonies, for the want of a better word.
Yeah.
If you just imagine, there's like a group of these kind of glittering lights in little clusters, and there's like 6 of these clusters, and it appears, as I say, that they are kind of drifting apart or drifting, losing their cohesion in this ocean. So, has anybody got any thoughts about how you might be able to rescue them?
How far's the runabout away?
Say again? The runabout's 20 yards away because it's literally you're in. You've literally.
Have we got?
Well, I believe in our data core we have a method that was used some time ago using an old Klingon bird of prey. I believe they used some plastine screens and created almost like areas of aquariums within that ship and transported what I think are called whales from ancient San Francisco to modern day. It was a while ago, so they might have been something else. However, they created aquariums, vivariums, something along those lines in these ships. So if we were to use that, but instead of physically having them there, if we rearrange the transporter modules as we did previously and rotated them to keep people in them, can we do the same thing but water breathing creatures in the airlock, so in the transporters on that loop?
I'm game if you are. It certainly seems like a cunning plan to me. Obviously this
we could just go and get a bucket, then scoop them out, and then
or you could just go and get a bucket.
I'll get some tights with a bit of bacon in it.
I think to be fair, you are sort of both barking up the same tree, aren't you?
Can I just at this point say Yara's been thinking about this really hard. I'm not completely convinced that we should interfere, because for all we know, this could be a natural process. It could be that whatever these life forms are, there may be a larval stage of whatever it is that's floating around above us, and we just don't know whether we would.
Right, you know what?
Sorry, go on.
I'm going to give you a little point of momentum for that, because you are absolutely you are kind of spot on there. So as you are debating what you're going to do to rescue these, and your intentions are good, right? You're kind of trying to help these things, and as you are kind of you're kind of quickly throwing ideas around, and Osterhagen's off building transparent aluminum aquariums and stuff. As you are deciding how best to proceed, a small group you become aware. TBC kind of says, "Sir," and he sort of points up, and as you watch, there's a small group of what look like crystal spheres, which are about 1 meter in diameter, approach, floating in the air. They are literally floating in midair, and they kind of drift across the water from the direction of the city. And Kalish makes a discreet tricord, or kind of Kaz sort of says tricorders, and all of you kind of literally throw up your tricorders and start scanning these things. And you are Kalish's readings match the aliens that are in the water, and you can tell that they are the same type of alien. Just for somehow they are in a different form, but all of the EM signature and everything that you were picking up matches exactly what's in the water. And you can see as they approach, there are a series of rapid lights kind of flickering on the sides of these creatures, and they move towards you in a manner. They sort of, as they see you, or as they approach you, you can't tell if they see you because they have no obvious, features. But as they approach, then their kind of gentle approach is replaced by a much more. They kind of come hurtling towards you, and definitely in a manner that could be kind of interpreted as harmful. And as you watch, you can see that the in the water, basically where you're, as I said, you're on the edge of this ocean. And as they approach in what you can only interpret as a more hostile manner, you notice what looks like almost as if some of the water is being frozen into a barrier between you and these life forms in the ocean. So it looks as if this is being done by these spheres. And as I say, literally, you can see that the water, it's not actually freezing, but it's kind of hardening. It's almost like turning into glass as you watch. And as you approach, again, it's really up to you how you want to react to this. Because, again, they're not...
Back away from it.
You back away. Okay.
Because, as I say, they're obviously being protective towards whatever's in the water. So just back away.
Perfect. As you are, what you can do is Osterhagen. You've probably got the best chance of doing this, or actually, again, you and Giara can work together on this, and you can try and quickly reconfigure the universal translator, which is built into your comm badges. Certainly, one of your comm badges, to see whether you can actually interpret these or try and translate these lights sequences, because you suspect they are some form of language, because you're not hearing anything audible. But again, these creatures are kind of flashing these lights at you, and it looks as if it might be an attempt to communicate.
We know about the flashing lights of deep sea fish in the Marianas Trench.
Absolutely correct.
So therefore, using that as a base.
Yes.
And Spielberg's film Totally
Encounters.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. No, exactly.
Chucking those into the algorithm.
I'm sure that you have probably, again, with all of your characters' kind of experience of, exploration and so on, you probably have encountered other life forms that use visual communication rather than. What's that film by the Dune guy, Arrival? Because that's light.
Oh,
isn't
yes,
it?
yes.
That's imagery. It's not.
That's some kind of
fractal patterns and things, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that correct? I don't know. I haven't seen that film for a while, but I'm pretty sure that's a visual communication.
That rings a bell.
Perfect. So
when you said the Dune guy, I was thinking of all the David Lynch films I could think of.
I jumped with Jadowicz. Jadowicz, Hadowicz, the one that was but yes, the Arrival.
It's what's his name? Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve. Yeah. Okay. So you can quickly you kind of back off as per Kaz's instruction, and you kind of make no hostile movements, because that's what potential first contact situation. So you kind of step back, and again, I'll let you two have a quick. You've got an opportunity to try and reconfigure the. Actually, you can do it on one of the tricorders. That's probably easier.
I'm getting sequence 10, 9, 8, 7.
Oh God.
Right. So you're going to do Osterhagen. You're going to do insight. Actually, you're going to do insight. I'll tell you what. Actually, you're going to assist Giara on this one, because this has actually got an engineering discipline. So, Giara, if you want to do an insight or reason, whichever is your highest.
Reason is highest.
Okay, so it's reason plus engineering. So if you want to,
yeah, is it?
And then Osterhagen can assist you if you succeed.
With a task of 1, isn't it?
Difficulty of 1.
Okay, hang on.
1, yeah. Task roll.
So it's reason plus engineering, difficulty of 1. I'd say you've probably got to focus. Yeah, perfect.
I didn't put a focus on it.
Yeah, you've done your one.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. If you succeed, Giara, then Kevin's already. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Look at that. Bloody hell! Another momentum token gained up to the maximum of 6. Okay, so yes, you very rapidly pulling on your knowledge of those things that Osterhagen mentioned. You know, other encounters with visual-based communication. You very quickly reconfigure the tricorder receptors to pick it up, and as you basically scan their communication, the language bank translates to the following. It says, "We are the sun seekers. Leave alone what is natural." So yes, Sarah Jane, you were quite right that this appears to be some form of natural life process that is going on with these life forms. And so yes, the fact that you have, as you backed off and let this carry on and not interfered, they have kind of ceased their. They've kind of become a bit more. How can you tell if a sphere is relaxed? They've become a bit less overtly aggressive. At least they've kind of held their position.
It's more oval.
And so Kaz, do you want to say anything to them in return? Because don't forget, you can use it's basically the tricorder can then use its it will basically emit light pattern to make an attempt to communicate.
As I say, till we back off and say, sorry, mean no harm. Did not understand. Mean no harm.
Okay, so you begin to your tricorder is flashing this information away. Now I'm going to try and send you an image of. So as you are conversing with these sphere beings, you notice that a different type of life form is approaching you. Again, floating across the ocean from the direction of the city. You can see a dozen or so angular-shaped beings. I want to find you a picture because they're quite cool looking. Let me just give me a minute while I find an image of it from the. I've got the book.
Where are you going to post it on the Discord?
I'll put it on the chat. Yeah, if you give me a second, because I've got to go. I've got to sort of scroll through my. Actually, hold on. Talk amongst yourselves while I just quickly.
Cue elevator music.
For the benefit of the tape.
I better not do too much. You might get a copyright strike.
And for those of you that are too young to understand what a tape is,
good point. Yeah.
Actually, no. I have a really old tape recorder and player in my room.
No, don't say really old. Don't say really old.
It'll upset some people in this group.
It's an 8-track, Grandad. What?
Who are you calling Grandad?
It's having fun in museums playing with rotary telephones.
There's a bit in the Chalk Pits Museum, isn't there? They've got all stuff about
what's wrong with rotary telephones?
Nothing wrong with rotary telephones.
I was allowed.
Oh, hold on a minute. I'm still scrolling. Just bear with. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I've got there. Nearly there. Yeah, like I say, it's just worth showing you a picture because again, it's easier for me to show you an image rather than to try and describe. As I say, they're kind of quite cool looking. So just bear with me 1 second. Just taking a quick screenshot. And I'm going to upload that into the Discord. Upload a file.
So much suspense.
I apologise. I should have been a bit more organised, but I know the suspense is killing you. There we go. That's what they look like. So that is what this is the type of life. So these creatures are again about, I guess they're a metre or so no, actually a couple of metres high.
Ezekiel saw the wheel. This is the wheel. He said,
That's an interesting looking sphere.
Oh no, these aren't the spheres. This is a different type of life form. So it's giving off the same readings as the spheres, but they seem to be in a different configuration.
Are they like dinner plates?
They're like mod. Oh, sorry.
Are they shaped like dinner plates? Are they round?
What the sphere? No, the spheres are they're like a ball.
These things you've just posted.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. So the spheres are one thing. This is a different life form. So you've got the spheres are the ones who are in front of you, kind of, who had confronted you when you tried to interfere. These things have just come. A group of these have also come floating across to you as you are engaged in conversation with the other with the spheres. And again, you see a similar series of patterns of light flashing on their surface, as you can see from that image.
I was about to say, try to translate to see what they have to say for themselves.
Yeah, bear with. I'm just getting to that. So yes, exactly. You've now you've got the translator keyed in. So
the question would be, why would a creature like this evolve like this? They evolve in the Marianas Trench with to talk through light, because that is because the darkness and the depth and the pressures.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mean that light actually travels, whereas these things, whilst they're hovering around and flashing lights, what is it that could be potentially dangerous to us that has meant these things have evolved into using light as a method of talking, where the entire planet is light? There's no darkness. Is it a case that actually we are in the 1 month of the year when there's daylight and the rest of the months is pitch black, which is why they've evolved like this?
It's a good question.
Or is it
so
purely
this side of the planet that you are on, it is permanently in daylight. So because it's tightly locked, this part of the planet always faces the sun, and is always in light.
Yeah. So they've
it's
evolved.
It's a good question.
So these creatures that have in fact evolved from the other side of the planet and have simply migrated over when they've realised it's warmer this side.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and that may very well be revealed as we continue. But basically,
Steve, they look like constructs. Is there any way to figure out if they're artificial?
I mean, yeah, sure. So Kalish has already scanned the. So you scanned the spheres. I hate the way they describe them as spheres, but that's basically how they describe them. And they are literally like a crystalline ball, basically. So these new creatures, or this new version of the life form, seems to be made from that kind of look the same. In other words, the glassy structure that you can see seems to be the same as the spheres are made of. The light patterns are very similar. And your scan certainly does not detect any form of technology. It seems to be a life form.
Okay.
And these seem to be two versions of the same life form, and the same as the life form that you detected in the ocean.
Okay.
So it almost seems as if this creature, this being, can assume different shapes. So as Alex mentioned, shapeshifter.
Yeah.
They're not they're not a changeling, but they seem to be able to change shape into different configurations.
Yeah.
So as these creatures approach you, Kaz, again, you kind of similarly talk to them as well, and they reply to you with their lights seem to be much calmer than the ones on the sphere. But again, the sphere beings were kind of more agitated. And these creatures say, we were
messing around with their young. Yes, they would be agitated.
So it says, we are the cooperative. There will be peace. And as this new group of aliens, as you watch, their lights flash in a almost hypnotic pattern, and you and those around you stand calmly. Your head starts to ache, and around you appear images of yourselves and the Sunseekers playing out a fight which never actually happened. You are frozen in place and can only watch. When the conflict ends, the vision dissolves and everyone drops to the ground, somewhat disoriented. I apologize for the abrupt greeting. One of the newcomers says, welcome to Cal Mirar. I am I am. Oh God, these names. I am Aya Amin Gold, lead unifier of the cooperative government. The time refraction was necessary to assess who started this conflict. You were not harmed, although I apologize if you were disoriented. This was the most effective means to determine root cause. I am not surprised that it was these religious zealots, even though they are here in the city as a delegation from the Ray. And the light spheres that basically, so those are the spheres that came at you first of all, basically coalesce together into a group. And Aya Armin directs their entourage to rescue the rest of the dissolving Kalmirans in the water. And they begin to heal them with some sort of energy treatment. You can see lights flashing. And they ask, basically, they are curious as to who you are and invite you to join a discussion with themselves and representatives of the other faction. So you give them your, we are from the United Federation of Planets, and so on.
Yeah, so basically said we'll accept their kind offer because we're here to, from the usual Starfleet spiel, we're here to explore strange new worlds. And as I say, we'll give them sort of like the usual Starfleet speech and we wish to meet you and learn about you and everything else. Yeah.
Okay, so you having recovered somewhat, because again you this what they call time refraction technique that they use, and as I say, what it looked like to you all was almost as if you were watching a movie of how things may have played out between you and these other beings. So in this possible version of what might have happened, then you saw you saw like a conflict where you had phases and you were kind of you literally broke into a fight between the two groups, and this never happened, but they kind of played out the events that started this meeting, and then they played out how they could have ended. So it almost appears as if they have some ability to kind of view alternate timelines, possibly. Again, all you know is that you kind of come round, you have a bit of a headache, but that rapidly fades, and as you kind of regain your focus a little bit, they are they're having a discussion with these sphere beings, and you have your tricorders can basically interpret the discussion.
Tricorder set to earwig.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, they involve you in the conversation, and they first of all, they are again interested by your appearance, because obviously you are physically very different from how they perceive existence.
If she refers to me as a solid, I'm out of here.
So do any of you have any, I mean, I'm going to give you a bit of information, but do any of you have any sort of question? Because I mean, this is you're having a kind of a fairly, again, this soon has become a fairly civilized discussion with these beings. So is there anything in particular you want to ask them? That might be the way to go. And then if not, I'll give you some information.
I think anything.
I can't think of anything.
So, sorry, Steve, who are the other visitors in the city at the minute? The Lightbringers?
So the Sun Seekers are the spheres, basically. They are the spheres. And the implication from the conversation that you've had with because this crystalline being that is the one that I put the picture up of, or that little group, they identified themselves as Kalmirar.
Yep.
And he's implied that the Sun Seekers, i.e. the spheres, so although they are the same species, they are obviously a different faction.
Right.
He's implied that they are here from, because he said they are here in the city as a delegation from the Ray. So you don't know what the Ray is.
Okay.
But all he's basically implied that they are a different group of the same.
It's like they're all human, except some are Chinese, some are Russian, some are. Would that be right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, as I say, you are the same.
They're just different actions of the same species.
Yeah, correct. Let me give you a bit of information then. So what I'm going to assume is that you have a conversation with them. So in other words, you kind of you're on the shoreline here, and you are in a conversation with these guys, and the light spheres are still floating around and kind of also involved in the conversation. So I'm going to give you some background information, which again we'll assume takes you a bit of time and discussion to bring out of them. But I'll give you some basic background. So as mentioned, the race call themselves the Kalmira or the Kalmiran, and their species are birthed. They're basically come into existence through lightning on this planet. So they were brought into existence by lightning from the creatures that float up in the atmosphere. You know, those the jellyfish beings that you encountered on your way down. So they are called. I'm just flicking through the book here because I want to give you some info. So they are called the. Right. So they call them the. So it says Kalmaran is created when lightning from a storm strikes water under precise conditions, generating a discrete consciousness. Minerals in the water are electrified and take on a charge which binds the body together. These beings cannot reproduce on their own. Only fresh lightning strikes create new members of the species. Their science of engineering, their engineering principles are trying to determine how to artificially create the conditions that create life so that they can kind of control, they can manage their population. But at the moment, literally they get created when lightning from the atmosphere hits the hits the ocean in a particular way.
Would that be sort of like an electrical discharge, or was that?
Yeah. So those creatures that you encountered in the upper atmosphere, and they refer to as aurora jellies. Yeah. They're basically enormous jellyfish that swim slowly in the planet's high atmosphere, feeding on ultraviolet radiation. Their movement generates static electricity, creating lightning storms which birth the Kalmirans. So basically, those jellyfish essentially are they kind of give birth to the Kalmirans because they generate the electricity that then creates these beings. So and again, that's that kind of gives you a bit of information on where they come from. They're crystalline, water-based life forms. So they're kind of fundamentally composed of water which has a bioelectric charge, but that allows them to shift their state of matter at will. So they can become solid, they can flow through liquid, they can even become gaseous. And the kind of unifying element of all of those different states is you will see those energy, those like light discharges, which represent the kind of life force, and then they can change their physical state. And so they have a couple of abilities, which again you've seen already. So they are able to what they call water glass, which means that they can turn water to glass on contact. So they harden it temporarily, similar to freezing. But it can be used to create tools, or it can be used for defense. And they also have this ability of time refraction, which, as mentioned, allows them to sort of see possible futures and even the past, although they don't go into too much detail about all of that. But they seem to be very calm and sort of reasonable. Even the what they call the sun seekers. You're having quite an open conversation with them, and certainly they do not seem to be bothered by the notion of the fact that you are clearly from a different planet, because looking at you
when we are like nicely settled in and comfortable chatting to each other. I'm basically going to ask them about the pylons.
Okay, so they yes, they are also in their own factions are discussing these vibrations that have begun, and so it seems as if these vibrations from these pylons or spires have been a fairly recent development. and they say that these vibrations have actually been causing some of the consciousness of some of the Calmarans to destabilize, causing injury and even death. And they refer to these pylons as the ancient spires. And they believe that they are some of the people amongst the Calmaran believe them to be sacred. Again, they've been here for, probably longer than the Calmaran have been in existence. And so the guy you've spoken to, Aya Armin, he's suggesting that they want to actually dismantle one to be analysed, whereas the representative of the Sunseekers, i.e. the crystalline spheres, whose name is given as Ricana L. Orange, bizarrely, they are not affected as much by the pulses because they seem to have a higher resistance to radiation and vibration. And they argue that these landmarks are natural and cannot be the cause of any sort of problem. So there is obviously a difference of opinion. Now, they mentioned that they come from somewhere called the Ray. So according to... Sorry, go on. Sorry, was that a question? Or let me just tell you about the Ray, because they mentioned that they come from a different area on the planet called the Ray. So the Ray is located at the point closest to the star on the sunward side of the planet, and consequently the point of deepest ocean. However, due to the extreme heat and radiation from the star, this area is constantly boiling, a bubbling surge of turmoil. While no life naturally resides here, the Sunseekers ventured into this area and built a crystal spire, which they called the Ray, which they used to collect the tachyon radiation from the sun. They believe that this purifies their souls, and so they are seen as a bit of an extremist faction amongst other Calmarans. Any Calmarans who wish to use time refraction must make regular pilgrimages to the Ray to absorb some of this tachyon radiation to allow them the ability of time refraction. So that's what the Ray is. And the Sunseekers, as they become more frustrated with the kind of condescending nature, because the cooperative represented by Aya Armin, as I say, is adamant that they want to investigate these spires more closely to find out what's causing the vibration. They begin to threaten that they're going to cut off the Ray's trade of metal and glass processing with the city. So Aya Armin then turns to you and offers to send a guide with. It says to you that they want you to basically assist them in trying to gain evidence that these vibrations are harming the environment, because they believe that then the Sunseekers will have no option but to see reason and re-engage in trade. And so they offer up one of their own representatives, Saya Ayla Blue, I like colours, volunteers to guide you to go and check out basically one of the spires and to see whether you can find out any information. And obviously this would suit your purpose because, of course, you also are interested in investigating this in more detail. And there's a lot of information to throw at you there because, again, unfortunately, these things there's quite a lot of information to dump on you. So anyone got any questions about any of that? So you understand that the Calmaran, they are fundamentally the same species, but there are different factions, taking on different forms. And the Sunseekers are seen as a bit of a religious fringe group because they believe in this, this idea that their souls are being protected. And they also don't believe that the spires are causing any problem because they're not seeing the effects. Whereas the bulk of the population from the city ahead of you, they're concerned because people have been getting injured, becoming ill and dying because what they think is this vibrational energy. So it's up to you how you want to proceed here. You can obviously agree to help them, or not. That's up to you. Or you can check in with the ship, or you can, Kaz, you can do whatever you like. So feel free to discuss amongst yourselves as to how you want to proceed.
What do you guys think?
I think we need to let the ship know how we're getting on. Because at this point, they've got no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think we should
Excellent
volunteer
idea. Okay,
to
so
mediate.
This is essentially a trade dispute, isn't it?
it is a trade. Yes, you're absolutely right. As I say, it appear, and again, you've obviously you're maybe struggling to grasp some of the nuance of the discussion because you're relying on the translate, and of course the universal translator becomes more effective the longer it. So, but you know, basically,
moved from a kind of capitalist society to more egalitarian.
Yes.
That word, and more socialist. So trade is not really something that we are overly. It's not as important as how each of the individual elements of the beings feel about things. So we should be looking at if what's happening is detrimental to them as a thing, as an entity, then we should help them that way. But if it's only detrimental to trade, then we should just fuck off.
Mike, Kolish wouldn't care about this, but as a player, I was wondering how the Starfleet directives sort of play into it.
We still don't know, do we, whether they're warp capable yet?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily warp capable. It's whether they've got the knowledge of other.
Yeah, it certainly seems appropriate that they don't seem to be. They certainly are not bothered by your existence.
I mean, technically, we could go into and mediate, I guess.
So what they're saying to you is they would like you to try and find out more information, and basically this guy is offering to give you one of his people to guide you to try and find out more. Because what he's saying, what he's getting at is if you can provide evidence that there is something going on with these spies, because they're adamant that this is causing harm to their population. This other faction are kind of not believing it. So obviously, if you can provide scientific evidence that is, because you are almost like a neutral party, then that may go some way to helping. So I'm going to just pause for a minute because I just need to go and let the dog out. You guys talk amongst yourselves, and I will be right back.
Okay.
So should we intervene, or should we simply walk away?
Why would we intervene?
Well, it's a trade dispute.
Yeah.
However, if what they're saying is that,
but why would we get involved in that? Well,
that's what they're asking. They want us to kind of speak to the other guys and go, these stacks are causing environmental issues and therefore are going to harm you. That then reopens the trade negotiations. If we're going to speak to them about the stacks, we should simply go, well, ignoring the trade, is it the right thing to do to speak to them about these the environmental damage done by the stacks in and of itself, not because of the trade dispute,
right? I see.
Or the desire to kick things. If it's the case, well, it's the actual damage done to them. The evidence isn't there for that, or it's so minuscule, it's not going to have an impact for hundreds, thousands of years. Then that's something that we should go. We could walk away and go, well, I get your trade dispute, but what you're saying isn't scientifically correct.
One thing is for certain is this is a first contact scenario.
Yes.
So we need to know more about these people, and the best way to know about them is interact. I say we get involved.
If we're allowed to under Starfleet regulations, then I think if we are able to help them work out whether or not they are being caused harm, we should offer to do that.
Yeah. It's also if that looks like, as I say, Tilical technology, and we need to find out if we're going to help the people that are trapped. We need to find out more.
Yeah.
Again, we can only do that by interacting.
So we want to gather more information then, don't we?
The best way to do that is to help them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, we just we jump in our ship and head off, and that's it.
Well, Kaz, you're in command, so
We'll help them. Because otherwise, it's, you know, we came here for a reason. You know, it helps us. I'm talking twice. Sound fine? Does that sound up all right for everyone? As I say, I'll hold my hand up. You know, it's on me. First officer.
I think we should do it.
What are we doing, sorry?
Stand up.
Staying to help.
Okay.
If we could get a communication back to the ship, we could get Naismith to order us to do this. And therefore, it's his decision, not ours.
Hello, back again. Sorry about that. I just had to go and take a dog out in the garden with a watermelon around her neck.
I'm not going. It's going to be asked. Why has he got a watermelon around his neck?
Well, because she's got because she's had an operation. Okay. She's wearing a bodysuit to stop her getting to her stitches in her belly, but then we've realised that she's been nibbling her leg, which is where they put the drip into her arm. So rather than put the cone of shame on, which is the big plastic cone you put on their head, we've got this collar, which is like an inflatable collar, but it's basically decorated to look like a watermelon because it's funny apparently. So it is working pretty well, but she does look funny with a watermelon stuck around her neck. Anyway, somebody want to summarise for me as to what you just talked about.
We're going to help them because
Oscar Hagen wants to pass the buck, though.
As I say, we've been sent here to find out. Essentially a first contact. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is essentially a first contact.
Yes, can you?
Contact scenario. And, you know, to find out more about these, find out more. We need to find out more, and the best way to do that is to help them with their problem.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say at my court martial anyway.
Right. So basically, what was the name of the leader? Aya Armin Gold, then introduces you to another member of their party who looks exactly the same, frankly, but is introduced as Sar Ayla Blue, who is going to be your guide. And this individual, once you have been introduced, summons what looks like a what he or she describes as a skiff. It's like a surface vessel, again crystalline construction, and you see this vessel come sort of skimming across the water from the city, and it comes up to the shoreline, and he invites you aboard, and you can obviously leave your shuttle if you wish, or you can. There's this thing is quite large, so you could, in theory, put the runabout on the deck of this vessel, but it's up to you whether you want to take the runabout with you or whether you want to leave it where it is for now. I'll leave that up to you. But she's waiting for her vessel to arrive, she basically explains to you that she used to be a member of a clan called the Bead Clan, who were much more technology obsessed than a lot of her fellow Calmiran.
How many clans are there? How many of these clans are there?
Numerous. It can depend, and you've certainly encountered 3 different, fundamental. They're kind of their ideas are slightly different, and like I say, so this group apparently were more interested in technology, but basically what she says is that she can introduce you to a scientist in her previous group of people or group of theorists who has some insight or believes they have some insight into the vibrations. And apparently this scientist resides in an area on the surface called the Unknown Dark, which again is another nice dramatic name. But basically this is an area on the dark side of the planet where the ocean is frozen over by the ice cap. And it is home to some outliers, but is largely unexplored because the Calmarans tend to not like the dark. But she suggests you basically visit this guy because he has theories about the vibrations. So that's where she's going to take you to investigate further. But I'll leave it up to you as to whether you want to take the runabout with you or whether you want to leave it where it is.
I'll try and take
you.
Okay. Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, you could either.
I mean, you could. I guess you could even take the runabout. It's really up to you. I mean, I'll let you decide how you want to do that.
Leaving the runabout on its in an area where we are unfamiliar with is probably not sensible. It'd probably be better to bring it with us, just in case it gets keyed or something.
So what you could do then is you could you could simply invite her to board your vessel, and she can provide you with directions.
The thing is, if she was with a group that was interested in technology, we could play that angle and say, pull her on and say, look, this is, if you have an interest in technology, this is what we use to get around. Would you like a trip in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a perfectly reasonable attack, and she will actually go. Actually, she will agree to that. So you
just gone. Do you want to get in my car, love?
Yeah,
that's what you've basically done.
So, well, surprisingly, she agrees, but then she might not have met you before. So, she agrees to that.
This is a classic alien encounter where they come down out of nowhere and then take you into their spaceship.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but you're the aliens. Exactly. You're just not in Kentucky or Kansas or somewhere. So yeah, after a bit of discussion, then she agrees and she says yes. She would be interested, and she's certainly intrigued by your technology. So yes, you basically board the runabout. She dismisses her skiff, which kind of skims over back towards the city. And she boards the runabout, and sure enough, you all get strapped in, and she's sort of floating in. She sort of floats in the, floats in the air. Basically, doesn't sit down. But you guys all get into your seats and whatever. And TBC will launch the runabout, and you head off in the direction of the Unknown Dark, given her under her direction, and as you are, you sort of take off and obviously fly in the direction she indicates, heading towards the terminator between the light side and the dark side. And she comments to you, I wish that other Calmarans could see this great adventure. And as you proceed, again, you see again in the distance overhead, you get glimpses of the jellyfish floating around and the shimmering atmosphere. And I think that is where we will leave it for tonight.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Thank you.
We've actually got further than I thought we might get, so that's really good. So excellent work from everybody tonight. Thanks very much for your engagement as always, and that was really good. So thank you so much. Anybody got anything they would like to add or ask me before we wrap up for tonight?
No. I don't think we got sidetracked this time, did we? We weren't talking about transporters or replicators or something like that. That's probably why we got further through it than you.
No, it was good. Yeah. One observation of mine, which some of these adventures are written in a way, and as I say, they do sometimes seem like quite an information dump because there is quite a lot of information they're trying to impart.
Yep.
And obviously I try to avoid that, but this one was difficult because this is a whole kind of odd culture and society that you're
and
you're not
environment.
environment,
You've got to describe the world and
yeah. So hopefully next time we can avoid a bit of that and just focus on proceeding on with the sort of investigation. But yeah, great. On that note, then, guys, I would just say thank you again for your time as always, and I'm glad we're back on track. So hopefully 3 weeks tonight.
I'm not going to make the 3rd.
Oh, that's typical, isn't it? There's
I'll
always one.
I'll be on the Florida Keys.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Yeah,
Florida Keys,
there's
whatever.
nothing to say. You can't join in from there.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Starship Vigilant. Kaz was played by Mike. David Osterhagen was played by Kevin. Kolish was played by Kerin. Our music is Fanfare for Space by Kevin MacLeod, which is licensed under a Creative Commons license. See you next time.